take a second to think about the carry cars of today. And I don't mean the ever-popular United States Suzuki Carry mini truck, no. No, I mean the cars that carry multiple demographics and multiple different genres of people who want to do different genres of things with the same car, which brings us to the question of, why do car companies have a family of cars instead of just one car? The answer is, of course, well, because the car company wants to sell the most amount of cars. So if they can make a lot of cars for the most amount of people, those people will likely buy those cars, ergo meaning they sell more cars if they make more cars, and more importantly, different types of cars for different people. Think about your needs for a car, and then look at these two images. I chose a luxury car company, Volvo, and a regular car company, Toyota, which is very loved on this channel, both of which are, and decide, what do you need out of a car? For me, I would say, I want something reliable, I want something large, I want something that can hold a decent amount of people, I want something with storage in the back. If I were to buy a Volvo, I'd buy the XC70 or XC90, and if I were to, or maybe the V70, which is still a thing, I'd probably get the V70 instead of the XC70 for those reasons alone, and if I were to be buying a Toyota, I'd probably buy the Venza or the Sienna. This is why they make those cars to sell to people like me who have those specific needs. Take this Sienna, for example. I could walk into a dealership and buy it for the, pre-mentioned reasons, but at the same time, my mother of 5 could buy it because she needs a car that can seat, 7 people, and, the Toyota Sienna can do that, and it's hybrid, and for a multitude of reasons. This car carries both of us buyers. In both buyer cases, we end up with the same car, and this happens a lot. They're not going to make a Sienna that doesn't have, 8 seats just because, I want a Sienna without 8 seats because I don't technically need the extra third row. No, they're just going to make this car and say, if you want it, you can have it, and if multiple people want the same car, that's great. And some of these cars collect these buyers in these different genres of people like the Infinity Stones, both back in the day when there weren't that many cars and there were a decent amount of people buying them, or today when there's more people buying cars than ever and it seems like car companies just can't seem to make everyone happy. There are just cars like the RAV4 in this instance, which have always catered to a large number of people. It can cater to the same mother who walked into the thing because her teenager's going to be driving next year. She doesn't need the Sienna, she wants the RAV4. It could cater to me because, it has a hybrid, it can go off-road, or it can cater to someone who wants to go off-roading. It has all-wheel drive. It can cater to many, many, many different types of people because it's in the middle of the spectrum. It also helps that now our models of cars are more fluid than ever. You're not stuck into a rigid class structure. For example, the early 90s, if you wanted an SUV, you essentially got a truck with a permanent tonneau cover, and, you got your kids in the back, 4 seats, maybe 8 if you're lucky, and if you wanted, you had a lot of kids, you wanted a minivan, well, you got just that. You got a minivan that can suit your amount of children, where the seats don't really fold up, and it's got one door on one side, and really can't be used for that much. Whatever segment of vehicle you wanted, you were permanently stuck in that class of vehicle. There was no, minivan, truck, hybrid. They were all just kind of the same. Think about the Toyota RAV4. Back then, and I say back then like it wasn't, like 20 years ago, which is essentially nothing, the RAV4 was essentially this tiny little teeny bopper hairdresser's car that you could drive around that was kind of an SUV. Nowadays, the Toyota RAV4 is everything. It can be a family car, it can be a tiny little hairdresser's car, it can be, an off-roading vehicle, it can be whatever you want it to be. And this is a product of more money, more people, more upsizing, and more supplies, and more resources, and more availability to those resources and supplies. A question. How do you think the buyers of the original Toyota RAV4 would react to the current Toyota RAV4? How do you think the buyers of the current Toyota RAV4 would react if the old generation was introduced, slightly facelifted for, 2026 with Apple CarPlay and everything? How do you think they would react to that? Well, the people who buy the modern one would say, this is too small, doesn't have enough seats, 2-seater, 4-seater, I need 5 seats, it's just too little, too less, too less. And then the people who bought the older car would say, too big, too large, I don't need all that room, it's too expensive. That's exactly what they would say. So how do you think the RAV4 grew all of these years without upsetting that many people? The answer is through cars like the Toyota FJ Cruiser. Picture it, your Toyota, it's 2005 and the current generation of the RAV4 is getting a little bit old and everyone wants something different. Some want a family vehicle, some want something more off-road, you made it bigger from the first generation and you just want to make it and you want to appease everybody. But the issue is it can't both be an off-roader with a V6 and be a family car. So you're envisioning a new RAV4, a grand RAV4, a RAV4 with 3 seats, a V6, still all-wheel drive that could appease some of the base of the old RAV4 but collect a lot of those new family buyers. What gave you this idea? Cars like the OG Chrysler Pacifica and Mitsubishi Outlander, SUVs that are also kind of family vehicles. You know, they're both family vehicles like minivans, styled to look like SUVs and styled to mimic SUVs. So if they can make a family vehicle look like an SUV and sell like an SUV, can't you make an SUV sell like a family vehicle and look a little bit more like a family vehicle? That's exactly what Toyota is trying to do. And they came out with this, a brand new version of the Toyota RAV4. It was a family vehicle. It was different this time. It had a V6 and it had a third row, and it was chunkier and larger. Another thing, and how you can tell kind of the difference, is the new trim levels. It still had the base, and it still had intermediate trim levels, but it had the new limited trim level, which now had leather and was fancy, and the sport trim level, which didn't have the tire on the back. It was the all-new generation of crossover, and Toyota was here for it. Compared to the previous generation, which only had the base model, the L package, which was essentially kind of like the limited, but it didn't say that because remember, they weren't trying to compete with luxury cars back then, and the sport package. Those were the only packages on the previous model. This year, you had new stuff. You had the limited, you had the sport, you had the base, just different trim levels named differently to target different people. But the issue was the off-road prowess of the old RAV4 was highly regarded. They've already gotten the off-road, capabilities, which would help them sell the new RAV4, but the people who used to buy the old RAV4 want something else. They want something a little bit bigger, and the best part is now they can boil all the stuff those people don't want. They don't really need an extra row of seats. They don't really need 4 doors. They just want a great off-road vehicle. Well, guess what car Toyota decided to come out with in 2006? The exact same year they replaced the RAV4. The new Toyota FJ Cruiser featured a naturally aspirated V6, 4-liter this time, pretty large. It was great for off-roading. Technically it had 4 doors, but 2 doors and then 2 weird little suicide door things. And it was completely designed for going off-road. It was also built on a different platform. Unlike the Honda Element, which was essentially just a Honda CR-V with a rebadge, this was actually based off of the Lexus GX, well, at least the frame was, and it was entirely developed mostly from the ground up by Toyota to sell to this specific buyer base. Well, this may be one of the shortest, sections ever in a Commin Quokka Car of the Month video, considering there was only one generation and literally 0 style upgrades on the Toyota FJ Cruiser. There were no trim levels, they were literally only packages, and there was one engine offered the entire time, and literally no facelifts, no changes, no even slight cosmetic changes. The exact same car from start to end. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Here in the United States, the Toyota FJ Cruiser only lasted from 2006 to 2014, model year 2007 to 2014, but over in Europe, Japan, Australia, it lasted all the way from 2006 to 2022. It had 239 horsepower and 278 pound-feet of torque, and also a slight change in the 2010 to 2014 models. It actually had 258 to 260 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque because of a slight technical upgrade to the 4.0-liter V6 engine. It also had a maximum towing capacity of 5,000 pounds. I told you that would be short. Now let's move on to just the fun part of the video where I look at the pamphlets and then we talk about how much you're going to expect to pay if you actually want to buy one of these things. Now we're going to look at the 2007 Toyota pamphlet for the FJ Cruiser, and then the 2013. I do like the year after it was introduced and the year before it was killed off, because the year it was killed off, they stopped trying and they removed pages, so that's not fun to look at. In the first year, they don't really have it all put together. It's either that or they try and sell it way too hard and it's like way too long. So, this is like my happy medium, a year, and then I'll put some in the middle if it's needed. But today we're just doing the 2007 pamphlet and the 2014 just to see how it kind of evolved. Now, when I said there were no cosmetic changes, I lied a little bit. The mirrors, that was literally the only thing that changed, and I'll explain that in a minute. First of all, exterior, I thought the 6-spoke wheels with the 6 lug nuts, I think that's exactly how you should do it. And I also find it weird that there were no fog lights. Like, I get why they put them up here. The idea that they're going for is, oh, well, it's going to be submerged in water, so you don't want anything below quote-unquote the water line, when me and Toyota both know that this is not, that rugged of a vehicle where it really requires that. So for some reason they put the fog lights, which are very weak. Think like, I have LED turn signals on my RAV4. I think those are actually brighter than the supposed fog lights up on the mirrors. It also has 3 windshield wipers, which is a weird little quirk. Also, the interior, specifically, wow, that was weird. Specifically, the door, little panels, door cards here could match the outside color of the car, although that came later. But in the, first little, again, that was another slight cosmetic change, but in the front, the little radio panel over here would match the outside color of the car. It also had the swinging door, which was kind of interesting in different seat configurations. Yeah, classic V6. I like this where they show you like the little door handle there. And remember, there was only one generation, so here's all the jargon if you really care. And then this is my favorite part of all Toyota models, is when they show you like, oh, what cars they had going on at the time, you know, and you can see kind of how they were placing everything. You know, you had the Avalon and the Sienna as the bigger bad boys, and then for the first time ever, instead of the RAV4 being grouped with like this stuff, like the, you know, the small cars back there, it was grouped up with the big boys, and that was the big difference that they made in 2006, just trying to, you know, give the off-road prowess of these vehicles, make it more off-roady, make it more family, which is why it's placed kind of like as a smaller Highlander, and takes a lot of, you know, inspiration in terms of styling with the Highlander and the future generations of the Highlander, which Toyota had planned at the time. You'll also notice that the FJ Cruiser is down here at the bottom. It's like an arrow all pointing down towards the FJ Cruiser, and you can see, you know, the RAV4's up here, and the FJ Cruiser's down here with the trucks, and it's just so different, doesn't fit it anywhere else, so you can see kind of what I was trying to set up there. Also, notice the small cars, Yaris. It's sad that this is after Echo, but, you know. Then the FJ Cruiser, the legend lives. Yeah, but only for one more year. Oh, what a feeling. Again, you get those freakish windshield wipers. And here's what I was saying. They removed the fog lights off the mirrors. I know. Too bad. So sad. Here it is. Green. Oh, new wheels. I forgot to mention, yeah, slightly new wheels. Big cosmetic change there. And then they also, you know, gave it like a bargain bin off-the-shelf radio, which was slightly newer. You know, pretty decent. Pretty good. No issues here. This is actually the Australian pamphlet. Again, that's another thing I like to do to switch it up a little bit. But yeah. Also the tire cover. I think that was Australia only. Yeah. I believe you could also get the mirrors with the lights in the United States, but I believe it was an option. I know they removed it after 2010. It wasn't like an official, no, I think it was 2011. Also, yeah, key features, and the colors are different. Yes, very fun. Now let's look at them used. $47,000 for a 2014 with 27,000 miles. Those are the prices you are going to be expecting to pay. But if we go on the higher mileage, and remember, it's a Toyota V6, it will last forever, they're still pretty pricey compared to other Toyota models, but they're not overall that expensive. Like $13,000, I would say, is reasonable for a car this caliber until you realize it has 305,000 miles and it's from 2007. So let's just say if you're going to buy one, be expecting to pay a lot. A lot of these have also had wheel swaps for some reason. Either they're aftermarket or they're other things. It's just kind of weird. Let's just go to Best Match over here and just take a look-see at the prices here. This is my doctor speak. So yeah, about $17,000 for like a reasonably priced normal car. They've had several wheels as options. Like they had different, I don't know if they show it here. They had different like wheel options, like, oh, you can get these wheels if you like them and stuff over the few years. So that's pretty much the only difference you're going to see, instead of like trim level, or this one has leather seats and this one doesn't. So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon.